Not sure why we call them Viennese weenies instead of Vienna sausages. Probably because Vienna didn't want anything to do with them. But they go good with a saltine cracker and some mustard. Hi, I'm Patrick, and in this video, I'm back here in American Truck Simulator, and this is Realistic Economy Series Day number 68. I'm back here in DeRidder, Louisiana, where I've got a stumper heading up to Harrison, Arkansas. I'm on my way up north. I'm going to go to Iowa and drive around there, and then when South Dakota opens up, I'm going up there and hopefully buying a garage. But for now, I'm back here in the Volvo VNL with Boudreaux the bear. So let's get on the road. Well, still no update for the Logitech G Hub, so I'm still using that alternative software, and it's still working, so I guess that's fine. I actually, after day number 67, I couldn't find a job with a reasonable distance, so I decided to just spend the night here in the woods. And, well, that probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. Kind of gets weird in the woods in northern Louisiana in the middle of the night in the summer, but I survived. Wasn't sure for a few minutes. Of course, this is just creative storytelling. I slept comfortably in my bed last night. But on the road to Arkansas, you hear that crying bird out there. Imagine hearing that all night. This is a long dirt road getting out of here, but I think it's just around this curve. Interesting. Looks like they live out here full time. And here we are on the main road where I've got to turn left across 4 lanes of traffic here. Thank you. Here we go, out on the road. This is not a World of Trucks job, so that means I can go over 65. The speed limit's 65 here. I'll set it to 70 because it's 5 over, and if you watch me long enough, you'll know that I like 5 over the limit in ATS. And even though I usually have the speed set to kilometers per hour in ETS2, I do 5 over there too. And speaking of ETS2, today I was watching SCS put out a video, of course for you it was a week ago, about the new coaches coming to ETS2. And I thought that was an interesting thing. They showed off how it works, and it looks like it is not going to be a separate system like the driving academy. It's going to be like road trips in ATS. It's going to be a switch between trucking and coaches in the game screen, game lobby, not lobby, the game. I don't even know when is it still called the desktop? I think it used to be called the desktop screen. There's a train coming. Where's it at? There it is. You know what? They're honking at me. Guess what? Yep. The spooky horn. I'm kind of thinking when maybe South Dakota comes out, maybe we'll be getting a World of Trucks event again. Definitely, I'm pretty sure we're going to get World of Trucks events for road trips and coaches. But I'm kind of hoping that also means there will be an event for South Dakota, there will be an event for Iceland. That's what I'm hoping. Will it happen? I don't know. But I just kind of got a suspicion that the event system is probably going to be working by then. You know, this stumper is kind of heavy. It's nearly 40,000 pounds, so right around 20 tons. And that is kind of heavy. So far, not having too much trouble. But then again, I haven't been driving through any mountains like last week when I was out west. Oh, another train's coming. Will it come from the left? Will it come from the right? Right. Okay, well, there it went. Got some various intermodal and auto rack and box cars. Oh, I just realized my flashers came on. Probably should have noticed that sooner, but, you know, I was watching the train go by. Just looked at my fuel gauge, and it probably would be a good idea to go ahead and pull in here and fill up. Where do you fill up here? Oh, okay, it's over here. My flashers are on again. That keeps happening. You know, I don't understand why the flashers keep coming on. I don't know what I can do differently to keep that from happening. It just seems to always happen. Well, not always, but it usually happens when I'm coming to a stop behind another vehicle. And I really don't understand it because it's not every time. And it's not like I got close to running into the back of the other vehicle, so Soto Parish Schools. Interesting. That explains the school buses. And there's a car coming up beside me, making the little light there on the pillar go flashy, but I wasn't going to get over in the left lane, so I didn't really have to worry about that anyway. So yeah, it's Friday. It's the 68th day in the Realistic Economy series. Of course, that's not counting the weekends. I only count the days that I actually drive. I'm currently trying to figure out in my head what the week number is. So if the end of this week will be day 70. The 70 divided by 5. 7 divided by 5 is 1. And then you have 2 left over, so 20. Divided by 5 is 4, so this is week 14, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. This is week 14, and there are more school buses and another school. Interesting. And here we are in Shreveport now. I had hoped last week to make it to Shreveport, and I only made it to Longview, Texas. And now here I am in Shreveport on my way back up north to Arkansas. Where's that truck going? Oh, okay. For a second I thought that Swift truck was running a red light, but no, they were just turning right on red, so they're fine. I'm sure they'll wreck later, but that's fine. Somewhat insane truckers right there. Somewhat insane truckers. S-W-I-F. Oh, I forgot the F. I have no idea what that would stand for. But anyway. Friendly, maybe? Fast. Well, I mean, they're fast up until the point that the truck won't run anymore. I'm Stevie Wonder Institute for Trucking. Anyway. Swift gets made fun of a lot until, of course, the invention of semi-trucks that were able to actually transport goods by road. Everything was hauled by train. If it had to go a long distance anyway. Of course, before that, it was horse and carriage. Wagon trains, I guess you could say. You could say that because that's what they were called, wagon trains. So you gotta remember, if you're not from the U.S., that the U.S. is as big as Europe, almost. No, it's not almost. It's, well, it's a big part of China. Yeah, the U.S. is a big place. So there, once railroads came around, they started making hubs. Nebraska had a big hub, Kansas, and of course Chicago, because everything coming from the west would end up in Chicago. So like cattle raised in Texas and Oklahoma was taken up to the railroads and sent to Chicago, and the meat packing plants in Chicago would then ship their canned meats around the country by train and later by truck. So you have the famous, which still exists, meat company Armour was making wonderful canned meats, such as everybody's favorite veiny weenie, the Vienna sausage. Most people call them veiny weenies around where I'm from, and I think a lot of other places too. Not sure why we call them veiny weenies instead of Vienna sausages. Probably because Vienna didn't want anything to do with them. But they go good with a saltine cracker and some mustard. I actually saw a video the other day of somebody take a can and put it into a fryer and deep fry the entire can of any weenies. And I'm not sure why they did that. That seemed like a terrible idea, but they did it. I saw another one where they suggested taking the whole can, pop the lid off of it, and set it on the stovetop to let it boil in its juices. Again, I don't know why they did that. It seemed like a bad idea, but they did it. Personally, I prefer them, like I said, with a saltine cracker and some mustard. Spicier mustard is probably better. But yeah, the meat packing plants in Chicago, yeah, you may not have expected a history lesson here in this video, but here we go. The meat packing plants in Chicago in the early 1900s were big employers of European immigrants, a lot of people coming from Eastern Europe and moving into Chicago, and they got jobs working in those plants. And and they weren't necessarily well paid or well treated while they were their right lane ends. And not only were the workers not well treated or well paid, the meat products weren't well treated or well preserved, and well, things could get pretty nasty in the process, and the companies didn't necessarily care. And it became a guy named Upton Sinclair. And Upton Sinclair was a socialist. And he thought he had the greatest idea. He was going to sell socialism to Americans by writing a book called The Jungle. And it was a book about Eastern European immigrants who worked in the meat packing plant Texarkana discovered. That's great. So it was about the disgusting situation in Chicago in the early 1900s, and he thought this is going to sell socialism. Towards the end, the main character becomes a socialist in the book. I got the green light, didn't I? Yeah, green light on the thingy. So that was the plan, and what you didn't realize was Americans didn't care about politics. They were more concerned about the fact that their food was disgusting, and also sometimes the canned meat was not from loan payment at 104. That's good. They were more concerned about the fact that their potted meat was possibly also filled with the workers who lost parts of themselves while they were producing the meat products. You know, there's a lot of blades and cutting involved in the meat packing process. So, yeah, didn't really sell the socialism as much as he sold the idea that maybe we should regulate the industry a little bit and clean up the mess. And that's when food industry regulations came around. The FDA soon was developed, the Food and Drug Association Administration, and other government agencies that inspected food to make sure it was safe. An interesting thing is, during the Spanish-American War in Cuba, sure, put on your brakes. During the Spanish-American War in Cuba, it turns out that the bad meat that was being shipped to the troops, the American troops, was deadlier than the actual war. Can I say that in a YouTube video? I don't know. I did. It's not like I'm going to be demonetized. I don't make money here. So yeah, it was literally more dangerous for the American soldier to eat than it was to engage in battle. So yeah, all of this happened around the same time. Of course, they also had to fight malaria because of the mosquitoes in Cuba. So, yeah, there's your history lesson, which all came out of me making a joke about a Swift truck back in Louisiana. Meanwhile, we're under 100 miles away from Harrison now, so almost there. Another fun fact is that I ran out of fun facts. Yeah, that's a fun fact. I'm out of fun facts for this one. Maybe I'll come back with some more next time. Intended to reduce the cruise control and accidentally push the outside view button. I think sometimes we forget in the modern world of concerns about pollution and companies that are putting poison in our food. We forget that just 100 years ago, it was so much worse. I mean, these days, on St. Patrick's Day, Chicago dyes the river green. Back in those times, they didn't put dye in the river to make it green. And I don't think they had enough dye to change whatever color the river was. I need to be over in the right lane. And that car is kind of blocking me in. There we go. Compared to even just 50 years ago, we have really cleaned up a lot of the world. And if you read, like, I mean, The Jungle, Upton Sinclair's book, The Jungle, if you read that and books like that, they were fiction, but they were based on, like, he actually went and investigated things and based his stories on things that he really did see. And when you read stuff like that and see how bad it was back then, I mean, sure, you can always become better. There's never going to be a time when you're perfect. But the goal is to keep making things better as you go. And when you look at things back then, though, you really see that we've come a long way. And I really think most places in the world can say that. No, there's a lot of places that can't. And I know there's a lot of places that haven't come as far, but the goal should be to get a little bit better every day. And we can start that by telling Logitech to update the G-Hub so we can finally get that thing working again without having to run some third-party freeware software that we got off of GitHub. Where is this turn at? Okay, there's the sign. A lot of traffic coming this direction over there. Are they seriously? Seriously? You're just going, okay, well. Once again, AI traffic. Doing AI traffic things. But that's fine. I guess this has been a different kind of video. I was planning on talking about coaches most of the way here, and instead I talked about the history of the American meat industry. Like I said, it's all because I was making a joke about a trucking company. It's become a joke, and I don't know why. I guess when you're one of the biggest, you're also one of the biggest targets. Speaking of targets, let's see where to park. Yeah, I'm not parking there. I'm gonna take the easy parking because it's what I do. Missed it by that much. There we go. All right. It's only 4 o'clock. Let's see what we get. All right, there goes another $2,500 and a little bit closer to level 20. Of course, I'm going for level 21. Maybe next time. I don't know. Next time I'm going to go a little further north, maybe even all the way to Iowa. We'll see. But until then, thanks for watching and have a nice day.